Good morning, everybody. We are back. It is summer now. It wasn't summer the last time we did this, which is pretty funny. Happy summer. If you are in anywhere that is like where I am, summer is here in force, and it's not bad. It's really hot, but it's not bad. My name is Crystal and Sophia, and I am here to help us just ground into a new week by being aware of the astrology and seeing how we can apply a little bit of folk magic and just about happy energy. Got a bunch of people. Liz, Amber, hello. Russ, I saw here. I think we saw Chrissy, Jenny. Tons of people are already here. Thank you so much. If you have a friend who you think would also enjoy this conversation, please invite them. The more the merrier. Everyone's welcome. It's wonderful. As long as you have a kind attitude towards others, right? So, it's good to see you guys. I have been gone I was in Iceland, and then I took a couple days in Oxford, England, which was lovely. I just did a bunch of intuitive wandering and it was the best. Iceland was also incredible. We had a group there from Trova. And surprise, while we were gone, a new trip has launched. If you caught my video on it, where I was actually in the Ashmolean Museum, and I had most of the museum to myself for the time of day that I was there. And I got into this specific room where I was able to give you one really blatant clue. We know I'm really bad at surprises anyway. I can't keep those kinds of secrets because I get so excited. So we are going back to Greece next year. Next summer, we are going to return to Greece. And yes, for anyone who knows, we did ask for Malcolm to be our guide again. So that will be super fun. And this itinerary is going to be a little bit different than last time because we added a day so that we could go to Delphi. And I'm really excited to go to Delphi. I hope other people are too. It is live now. When this post goes live, you'll have a link in that description. Actually, I can probably right there. There you go. That's all of our trips. So if you wanted to look at whatever has openings, I think we still have a couple of openings. If you want to travel very soon, you can come to Thailand with us. Peru is next fall, and then Greece is next summer, and we have one more that will happen next year as well, but you don't get to know yet. So those are what is available, and all of them are listed on that. So you can look at all the itineraries, all the locations, compare, contrast, lean into intuitively, and see if any of them feel like a really good trip that you would like to be on. And I got to tell you, these trips are the highlight of my life. They truly are. I live for these trips. I love being able to travel to new places. I get to put a new pin in my map, which I'm really excited about because that was my first time going to Iceland. And I love traveling because I think it brings out the best in me. It's really funny. My astrology mentor looked at my ninth house when we started working together, and I had told her it was during 2020 that I said, I don't know who I am when I'm not traveling. And she laughed at me because she didn't understand how that could be a thing. But then I started traveling again because of these trips and because of all of you being willing to travel with us and have a good time. And I get to be the fullest expression of myself on these trips. And now my mentor understands. Do not underestimate Jupiter in the ninth house exalted. Am I right? So it looks like we have already got some questions coming in. Let me just kind of set the ground rules here. Ground rules, it's not really rules, but let me give you the how things work so that we can organize really well and I can do as much for you as I can. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. Amber, who is our amazing mod, will help me keep track of the questions, and hopefully I will get to all of them within the time that we have. It's about an hour. And if not, I will put it on the list for next week and make sure I do answer it then. I do not, because I am still jet lagged, I do not have a rant prepared. I have a topic that I'm getting ready for. I found a book in a bookstore across the street from the Bodleian Library, and it got me thinking. And so I've started outlining my next rant. And so if you have something you would like me to rant about, whether it's in the spirituality, astrology, theology, mythology, something you've seen on social media that you're like, is that spiritual bypassing or is that really a thing? Let me know. I will actually research it. If I don't have the topic prepared on hand from research I've already done, I will research it for you and I will rant about it at the end of one of these calls. And then I take the rant and I make it its own video. So I actually have a playlist of rants that you can refer to and watch those in the shorter thing. Yeah, I'm excited too. I took notes and I will be able to quote C.S. Lewis in this rant. I'm very excited about it. C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, and of course that whole group went to Oxford, and I spent a couple days just immersed in that, and I want to live there. It would be really nice. I got to do a tour of the Bodleian Library, and it was just me solo traveling. I didn't have anybody else with me. And I just, did a couple things that were on my list. I saw the Gutenberg Bible, and I'm so excited that I was in the same space as that. Made some really great connections with people, and just intuitively wandered the whole second day because I got everything done on the first day. And I played a lot of Pokemon Go. And yes, I did catch the regional Pokemon, and I'm very happy about that too. I caught an extra for my friend so I can trade with them. Cool. So welcome, Kathy. And it looks like our first question was from Greg. How can I utilize astrology to help me with protecting my space and self? So astrology for protection would lean towards astrological magic. And if we're using astrological magic in its purest sense, this is considered a high form of magic. High only because I like to say high magic is just high strung. And the reason I say that is because high magic only means highly detailed. It doesn't mean out of your range. It doesn't mean gate kept. It used to. Like the patriarchy tried to keep that to themselves and make it sound a lot harder than it is. It takes some training. Like I trained for a year and more before my mentor was like, okay, you know enough to start with my observation making talismans. And then he had to observe my talismans for the first couple times to make sure that I was electing appropriately and doing everything right. So it's very fine-tuned, and that's what makes it high magic. So if you're using astrology for an intention like this, you're getting into the realm of astrological magic. And for this, you would make a talisman. And for that, you would have to find a very specific time. And for some of these, the protective kind of planets that you'd be looking for, if you're protecting your space, you'd be looking at like a Saturn or maybe a Mars talisman. So these are the malefics, and they can do pretty nasty things if you use them in a certain way, but they can also be very protective. Saturn would be the more defensive kind of magic, so protection around your space, and Mars would be more offensive kind of magic. So that's like, think about your alarm system. That's like, warning, the police have been called. That's more the Mars kind. So the unfortunate news of high magic is that it is so high strung and detailed that we would have to wait for Saturn to be in good condition. Saturn is not going to be in good condition for 2.5 more years. Saturn is actually in probably one of the worst conditions Saturn would like to be in. It's in the sign of Aries, which is the sign of its fall. And that simply means it cannot be the best version of Saturn that it can be, right? So we are not going to work with Saturn for quite a while. To be honest with you. The next time I would work with Saturn, the next short-term time I could work with Saturn is still going to be in terms of years. And it would be when Saturn gets into the section of, let's say, Taurus that it rules by either face, which is decans, or terms. And so we still have to wait a couple of years, but that's the next viable time, in my opinion, that I would work with Saturn if I could also get the moon doing well, nobody afflicting Saturn. There's a lot of conditions you have to be specific with, because the idea in astrological magic is you're making a talisman, right? You are ensouling a talisman. You've created a body and you are inviting spirits to come and inhabit it in this window of time where they have access, and you're making everything ready for them to come in, and they come in and they work with you. So this talisman is almost like you're creating a familiar. And in my book, Tear Down the Sky, I kind of do a little bit with how astrological magic works. I'm working on making it even more obvious and easy to understand in this book. But that's how it works. So all that is the long version of saying, in astrology or astrological magic, I wouldn't use that for protection right now. We are not in a good condition for that. Mars is not going to be in a good condition. Let's see. Because if you're already in a situation, if this is preventative, you'd go with Saturn, right? Defensive. If you're having a situation where you feel in danger, then we could look at Mars. And when I look at Mars and I find out when Mars is going to be in a good condition next, we want Mars to be in either Aries, which is going to take a while, Scorpio, which will happen generally, it will happen this year. It's going to happen in September this year. Or we could have Mars later in Capricorn, which will be December this year. So Mars has a much sooner period of time. However, if you're feeling like you're in danger, that's probably not helpful either, right? We're not going to wait until the end of summer to feel safe again. So this is why I would lean into folk magic for your needs here because you can do it a lot sooner. And in fact, if you wanted to, we have a full moon in Capricorn next week that has Saturn squaring it from an inferior square. So the moon actually gets the upper hand there. It's still a square, but it's a wide one, and the moon is separating from Saturn. So it's not as bad. And you can see how I'm already saying, but it's okay, but it's okay, but it's okay. That's folk magic, right? In astrology, it's like, no, you would not do that. But here in this, we're not trying to make a talisman that's going to be ensouled, right? We're going to do something with intention at the right time to help oomph that energy. And so if you wanted to, you could use next week's full moon, which will be in Capricorn, which is the moon's detriment, but that in ancient times, we're still working on what they meant when they said detriment. So we got to like work on that a little bit. I would not make a talisman of the moon in her detriment because she can't be very lunar that way. But if we're looking for protection, the moon, who is like, come in, everybody, be part of the family, not being able to moon that way is actually kind of okay. It's the moon holding boundaries, which is not like the natural inclination for the moon, who is at home in Cancer the most. And so when I bring up our full moon in Capricorn, just looking at this a little extra, I did some delineation on it this week because I will be making a video all about how to use the full moon in Capricorn. And if you're in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom, we're actually going to be doing a fortune bag for good business because Capricorn does a lot with business as well. So we'll be working on that next week too. But for protection, this moon does connect. It's separating from Mars as its last thing. And Saturn is, like I said, really wide. Do you want to see this? Actually, should I show you guys the stuff? I could do this next week too to show you the moon. But in the context of this, if you would want to see how an astrologer's thinking when they're looking at how to elect a time for something, I could do that. Let me know in the chat if you'd like me to show it, because it's probably more interesting than just watching me watch a screen. And in the meantime, I will catch up on some of the things. Yeah, full moon. And I thought it was, I have July 10th for the full moon in Capricorn. It's at 4:30-ish p.m. and I'll show you. Yeah, okay. So let me show you my lovely screen here. I'll open that up. Cool. If I go to Luna and cool. So now we can see the Luna screen. Good. So what we're looking at here is July 10th, as you can see over here. That's July 10th, and it is occurring, go away, my friend. It is occurring at around 4:36 p.m. in Virginia, so that's Eastern time. Here are all the dates of the moon phases, which is really convenient. And so we find our moon in Capricorn. And if I narrow her down, you can see again, she's in Capricorn. She is, and this is very specific. If I were to talk about the houses, this would be specific to the East Coast because it would be a different period of the day if you were in another place at the exact moment, because we're all looking at the sky from different vantage points. But that's why I won't really go into the house situation. She is separating. You can see she's at 18. Mars is at 13. So the last aspect she made was a trine to Mars. For your purposes of wanting a protective time or a time to do intentionally protective magic, this is actually kind of okay, right? It's a trine. So Mars is not afflicting the moon here. And so we can use that. When I talk about Saturn, Saturn's at 1 degrees of Aries. So the moon would have been squaring Saturn at 1 degrees of Capricorn because they're both cardinal signs. So they square each other. And the moon is widely separated from that. It was the day before when this square happened. So we are a day out from that happening, which according to William Lilly's concept, he calls moiety, which is a beautiful word for saying the orb of influence. We're out of that. So we're not worried about Saturn afflicting it. And even if we were, the moon has the upper hand over Saturn here. So Saturn is saying like, grr, but the moon's like, chill, it's fine. You know, I hope that came across well. So Saturn is there by square. And so it's by sign still there, but it is wide. So the influence is waning. It's separating, right? It's weakening. So we have this full moon, lots of energy, really good if you want to put a lot of energy into something, to be able to see, right? So the moon being full of light makes it a very bright night where we can see things. So an awareness that helps you feel safe is good. It's opposite Jupiter by a bit of a wide orb there. And then it's not really talking to anybody else. These guys are what we would call aversion. Think about the blind spots on your car. You can't see in those spots. So the moon can't see them either here. So we're really looking at that moon-Mars relationship. And so if, Gregory, in your case, you're wanting to do some magic at a good astrological time for what I would consider more active protection, this would be a good time to then do some kind of spell work or some kind of intentional work. Now, Greg, let me know if that's helpful. And I will also now move into what that intentional work might look like. And so this is really a great behind the scenes of if I were doing work for a client, how I would be going through my process, finding the right time, considering the person's need, right? How urgent is this need? Can I do an astrological talisman for Saturn? No. Can I do an astrological talisman for Mars? Not likely. It's not time for that. Cool. Those are not even though they're, like, in my opinion, the most ideal, because you'd have a talisman to take with you. Like, for instance, I have a sun talisman in Aries that I made years ago that I take with me when I travel because it helps keep away illness. And so that has worked really well for me. And I keep it with me all the time. And is always in my travel bag. Thinking about doing like a Mercury talisman for efficient travel because I'm so sick of planes being delayed. But that's another story. So we can't do an astrological talisman. The timing is not right, but the need is still there. This is where we come into folk magic, right? So my mind is like, okay, switch gears. We move into folk magic mindset. When is the nearest situation where protection resonates? And of course, I've just been studying this morning Capricorn. Capricorn being a Saturn-ruled earth sign, it is holding down the fort. Yes, the moon is in detriment in Capricorn, but in folk magic, we see that for traits that we can use anyway, because again, the difference is we are not ensouling a talisman. I thought I had a talisman around here. I had, like, I don't know, a Jupiter talisman or something at some point. I think it's under my my computer because it's for good reputation and things like that. So I put it under the computer so that it can work through the computer to help me out with social media. And it has, honestly. But if I were to embody a talisman with something, I would keep it in that space. And I can't believe I don't have any talismans around here. That's odd. Okay, if I spot one, I'll bring it over. But in that same concept, we're going to say, okay, because we're not ensouling a talisman, we're not making like a little buddy familiar for us. We can do a lot more. We can be a little bit more creatively licensed with stuff. So in folk magic, now we get to just blend and vibe with the energy more. Capricorn, Earth, Cardinal, Saturn ruled. Cool. These energies can bring solid business success, but also with Saturn there, again, like I said, that's holding down the fort. And so that's coming up rather quickly. I looked at the condition of it and I said, okay, if I use this moon for this working that you're looking for, that we can now do on the 10th of July instead of waiting years and months, is it still a good time? Because the astrology still means something, right? Am I setting myself up for the astrology kind of going womp womp, or am I saying there is good energy that aligns with what I want to do? Now we're talking about the law of correspondence in magic, right? Here's what I want. What also agrees with that, and how can I use it? So if I were to say what to do at this time, I would set up wards around your house. Greg, I don't know if you responded. Are we looking at more martial, kind of like keep them out actively, or are we looking at holding down the fort, creating barriers to prevent anything from getting through kind of work? I would say the wards are a little bit more of the variety of Saturn, holding down the fort, holding boundaries, setting up the fence around your space. When I first moved in here, and this is something that would work really well if you have access to them. I have a holistic store nearby that sells cleansed railroad spikes. And so I have these giant iron nails. Iron is actually a martial metal, but I use it for protection anyway. I bought 4 of them. I put them in the cardinal directions around my house, and I hammered them in. And as I hammered them in, I recited a Brahmarai spell, very brief Christian mysticism-based spell. And you can just say, like, this protects my house from all that may wish harm upon it. That's a spell because you are speaking the intention. So you could work with that pretty easily. And as you're hammering those in, and then I like to seal them somehow. So in Brahmarai, we seal them with a little cross 3 times, looks like that. You could seal them with a circle and a pentagram. I've done that before on luggage to make sure it didn't get damaged on flights where I didn't want to check my bag, but they made me check my bag. And it's worked really well. So the pentagram is a good option. So yeah, so I would railroad spikes, and it also feels like you're doing something, like you're actually going around to the corners. If you don't have a yard, you could do this around whatever building you're living in, if you can do it discreetly, or you can place them in four corners of your space. You can't hammer them in, but you can lay them somewhere. It would have a similar reaction. Heck, you could get like a jar of dirt and hammer them into that and have it represent the ground of your space, and just put 4 jars of dirt with the iron nails in them. And that would work as well. You can do an energetic ward. You can use, let's see, you can use an evil eye, like the ones from Greece. There's a ton of things for protection, which is really, really nice. Energetic wards, you just intentional it, right? And do it at that time for the extra oomph. It's like the gods are saying, yes, there is protection energy. So when you're using that energy to conjure up your energetic wards, you're using extra protective energy, right? We don't want fluffy bunnies. I mean, sometimes we want fluffy bunnies to help protect us. If you've ever seen the whole Monty Python and the Holy Grail, rabbits can be protective. But we don't want like rainbows and sunshine to be the energy we use to build up our Martial and Saturnian defenses, because we want something a little sturdier than that. So we're waiting for a time where the energy, it's like the kind of mud you're going to use to build your house, right? We're waiting for a time when the energy is good for protection. Make your wards. I might re-up my wards anyway, now that I'm thinking about it this way. Okay, I'm going to re-up my wards this week. My phone just went off. So that is what I would do. You could do it, like I said, with more tangible stuff and some spells. That's a little bit more in the folk magic realm. Or you could do your intentional wards that you would do energetically. You could do a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Google that. It's everywhere. It's an open practice. It's great. I've used it a bunch of times. And you can also just put little paper talismans around. If you wanted to do like a Sator square, Sator, Google that and you'll see what it looks like. It's literally Sator, Arepo, Opera, Rotas, and it's Sator, Arepo, Opera, Rotas. It's really cool the way it works. Put those in the four corners of your house or at the entrances or whatever. Feel into it. Feel free, like I said, to take some creative license here. It's your space. It's you doing the work. With folk magic, you can go with the, I feel like this is the right crystal to put next to my door. Another really good protection is plants. Some plants are very good at protecting and cleansing anything that comes through the door. Putting a mirror facing your door, believe it or not, when you open the door, it reflects any negativity the person at the door has back at them. And so it's this really great, almost like force field of nope. Yeah, so I hope if any of those feel doable, Greg, let me know. But yeah, I could go on and on. Again, if I were working for a client, I'd probably send you a list of things that I intuitively selected for you. But this would work. So let me catch up on some of the stuff here. Yeah, highly detailed is the high part of astrological magic. It's not, it doesn't have to be snobby. It doesn't have to be. This is why I love Magic Talk. You can go as detailed or as simple as you feel connected to. It's so interesting. Yes. Yeah. And that's again, the process of thought that goes through it. It's just like, there is an answer. We just have to go through our steps to get there. And I just love it. Cool. I'm glad it made sense. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, cool. Oh, yay, Kathy. I did. So if you've been on a trip with us, I tend to make talismans for us based on the astrology of the trip and what I intuitively feel about the trip. This last time, I actually made, for everybody who traveled with us in Iceland, I made dream staves, and you could slip it under your pillow and it would give you the dreams that you wanted. I made talismans to repel the evil eye when we were in Italy, and lo and behold, we needed that. I made safe protection for like safe passage or clearing the way when we were in Egypt the first time, and that went super well. This last time I did something to help remediate Venus retrograde for everybody, and that was useful. It was useful, still rocky, but it helped, right? Someone actually found like a business card for an accountant the first night. It was amazing because I wanted to do financial stability, because if you're in a relationship, the thing that makes people stay the most, even when they feel like they want the freedom of choice, I wanted to remove the fear of financial instability so that you can make a choice of staying or going in a relationship if that's what came up, without that fear, so that you could do something more aligned. And that ended up being pretty helpful. And then on this one, I did the dream staves. Next is Thailand. And so for situations like Thailand, people who traveled to Japan with us will know if I'm going to look at it, but if I feel like I'm not the person to do the kind of magic that is going on there. I will do a magic that I am able to do that is part of practices that are open to me, and I will bring that. So like in Japan, I brought a spell for removing basically heat stroke. It was to help remove fevers and illness, and it was to do with water, because I knew it was going to be really hot there. So I gave us this thing to do every night so that we would be able to remain healthy and more hydrated, and it came in handy. um, and so I will always do something to bring in some magic for us. Um, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is a good one. Yeah. Thank you, Amber, for writing those down. Russ says, I appreciate seeing your process. The why and the how is often more important to me than the actual end result. Yeah, me too. Which is why I love showing the process, because it means a lot to me to be able to click in the back. If something can click in the back of my head, I can use it in the front. And so that's what I'm always going for. Yeah. You love elemental energetic wards. Get it, Greg. So yeah, I don't know where you're located at the moment, but I would just find when the full moon is exact next week for you, around the 10th of July, and then wait a little bit after that, right? Because the moon is technically afflicted by the sun when they are exactly opposite each other. So you can give it like later in that day. If you wanted to do this and wait, yeah, let me see. How many hours would I wait after the full moon? And I'm just going to do this off the cuff. How many hours would I wait? Oh, geez. Stop doing days, Luna. I'm asking for hours. There we go. Like the moon does not move that fast. I would give it. Typically, the worst affliction is within like 3 degrees of something. So by the time we get to 22, so when the moon gets to 22 Capricorn, we should be good. And by that time, so the moon was full at 4:30. By 10:30 Eastern time, it'll be all set. And I might even go as far to say, let me pump us forward to the next morning. Try to be reasonable here. The moon will still be full. Yep. Okay. So if you even did 8:30 the next morning, you'd still get the Capricorn energy. You'd still get the full moon energy, but it's at 27 degrees, nicely separated from the sun by almost 10 degrees. So that's something that I would work with. Yeah. The next day when you get up, the only thing that I would say is that if you're looking to use the Capricorn energy, we want to make sure it's while the moon is still in Capricorn, and the moon leaves Capricorn for Aquarius at 1:21 p.m. Eastern time on July 11th. So just make sure sometime in the morning you do your work and you'll be fine. And that's how I would do that. I could fine tune it even more, but I don't think it's super necessary. I want to make sure it works with your schedule. So yeah, just set your words the morning after the full moon and you'll be all set. Ta-da! That's how we make something super complicated turn into just set your words the morning after the full moon. Done. So yeah, that was really fun. Thank you for setting up that example for us. Cool. Yay. Nice. Jack just shook something off. That was adorable. How is everybody else doing? Do we have any other questions? I get to pet my puppies. I'm so excited to be back home with them. Oh my goodness. I wish I could. I don't know if I can show you. He's probably going to try to run away from me. Yeah, he likes to do a back step because he's not really big on being picked up, right? Do you want to come up? No? No? Okay, that's fine. You're adorable and everybody knows it. It's fine. He's also like, it's getting close to 11. You might feed us. But that's not happening today. No, not this time. No. They will get fed. Don't worry. It's just not going to be right at 11. Yeah, it's okay though. I missed them a ton. Zelda is over here in the window. Jack is bugging me at my feet right here. So in case you were wondering, that is where the pups are today. So since we're caught up on questions, let me look at next Monday is going to be a special one. I'm really glad we're here next Monday. Excuse you, buddy. Because next Monday we will be gathering on the day that Uranus moves into Gemini. And so we will be able to talk about Uranus and Gemini a lot. And there's some stuff that I want to like set you guys up to understand and know about Uranus moving into Gemini and what's coming up with that. And then there's some things that I think you're probably going to hear from social media that I'm already seeing set up on social media where it's like, we need to calm down. We need to handle this a little bit more rationally. So I will have that prepared as well. Jenny says, I was thinking about cleansing my space again, so I'll definitely be doing that after the full moon. Yeah, I will be too. Since my phone went off, clearly it's something that I should do. And it's a good time of year to do it, especially with stuff happening as it is. Yeah, my phone just went off again. So I will do that. I will not forget. I will set an alarm on my phone. I always set an alarm for talismanic elections, all of those things. Right now, I'm trying to find the best time to make some Jupiter and Cancer talismans. And here's the bugger, right? So Jupiter had his Cazimi with the sun last week. So he is separating from his conjunction with the sun, which is nice. But he's still under the beams of the sun. So he's all burned up. We can't use him. He's in Cancer. He's exalted, which only happens once every 12 years. And I'm just dying to make some talismans about it. But we got to make sure he's in the right space and he's in the right spot. So all of the astrological magicians right now are like, is it August? Do we have to wait until September? Like, we don't want him retrograde. So we have to make sure. It's amazing how even when Jupiter is in the best position Jupiter can be in, if the sun's too close or if, other planets, Saturn is squaring him this entire time, we want him separating from that by as wide a margin as possible. Saturn's going to get back into Pisces, I think, in September, October. So after that, but then he's going to go retrograde. So like, it's always this game of how perfect can we make it and what's actually viable. And will we get a really good talisman election out of Jupiter being in Cancer? The answer is probably yes. I will find at least one. I'm looking forward to it. But it's so tedious to be like, because you're perfect here. The moon's doing something great. And then Saturn's there. Or you're perfect. The moon's doing something great. And this is good. And you're retrograde. Or who knows what else. And of course, Jupiter spends months retrograde, right? So like that's going to erase whole pieces of the year. And then by that time, we have to make sure that he's not applying to a square with Saturn again. But they're not, by the way, he's not going to do that. They had their last square. So now we have Saturn backing up into Pisces. The next thing we have to worry about with Saturn, which we're already feeling a little bit, is Saturn's conjunction with Neptune, which will perfect next year. And then, of course, we also have the impending trine between Uranus and Pluto, which we'll talk about more next week. They do not perfect a trine until next year because Pluto got just a little further ahead than Uranus is going to get in Gemini to be able to trine Pluto in Aquarius. And Uranus is going to back up real quick into Taurus for one more foray just to get on Venus's nerves, I swear. And then he will move back into Gemini permanently next year. Jet is here. Hi, Jet. As always, I'm grateful for your expertise and skillful intentional practice. I'm thinking about Friday, Independence Day in the US and not sure I have a question, but just trying to stay grounded. Samesies. So a couple of years ago when I was still living in Pennsylvania, and this is purely just my personal opinion, my experience. This was maybe 2020, might have been the year before, perhaps the year after, no later than that. So it was around that area. My husband and I loved to take walks down to a local coffee shop, and it was half an hour to get down there and half an hour to get back. It was summertime, so it was hot. And we got down there only to find that randomly they were shut down because it was July 4th. And the patriotism of the person was quite strong. I hesitate to use the word patriotism for obvious reasons. I don't know. The enthusiasm for a certain leaning was quite strong in this person. And so they shut down to celebrate it like it was Christmas. So yeah, in Boston especially, it's super intense. Woof, I can imagine. But honestly, if I were anywhere, Boston might be fun. Yeah, so that's when I started being like, wow, I'm just so over July 4th. Not because I couldn't get coffee that day, but because they had never done that before. And like suddenly, because of how amped up they were over a certain situation, everybody was just going a little bit further than I thought was necessary, in my opinion. And it was one of the contributing factors when I realized they were getting that enthusiastic that I was like, yeah, maybe a different place would be good for us. I have been down here for a couple of years now, and I have no recollection of July 4th being anything super special or shutting things down or anything like that. There's a nice blend here of people. Amber would know. Amber lives here as well. And so I'm looking forward to treating it like a normal day and spending it with people I care about. And if I do see something that I feel is wrong and requires a boundary or assistance for someone, I will offer that assistance. And that's kind of just my daily now, right? Like that's how it is. It tends to be, if you know, you know, it tends to be a little icy here sometimes, even in the summer. So we have come up with some strategies about how to help people who may slip on that ice, and where we can hang out to be the most useful to them. So that's one of our biggest considerations right now. And I just, yeah, it's that. Um, you're volunteering with an environmental nonprofit to change the vibe for myself. I love this. See this, and I really want to point this out because Jet's really good. Jet is in our Modern School of Ancient Wisdom, so I get to hear a lot of what he does, and it's really, really cool that you are so intentional and that you are so good with balancing things. And to me, it's like this really amazing form of magic that I get to see where someone sees this and their immediate instinct is how can I balance it and almost like make this whole out of something that feels broken. And I admire it a lot. So thank you for sharing that with us, Jet. That's an amazing example of how you can apply magic with your choices in everyday life when stuff feels icky. Um, yeah. Yeah, you're doing great. I love it. Yeah, so we still have tons of time, and I am here for it. Um, are there any other questions? Anything else people have noticed? How was the last week? We had our new moon in Cancer. Yeah. So how did that go? Because like I missed you guys last week. I knew when it was Monday, and I was like, oh, I don't have my live today. I was that day on Monday. I was hiking a glacier. I was hiking on a glacier. Yeah, I did do that. It was fun. I also got stuck in an iceberg and declared myself the avatar. That was also fun. So, yeah, I have some of those things already posted on social media. There's going to be another one today because I felt some other posts were more important, that I posted so that they wouldn't get buried. I didn't post my final day in Oxford yet. That'll come out today. But how did you guys do last week? What was going on for you? I remember the new moon specifically was a very emotional day for me. Um, it was the last day of our trip, and I hit this wall of emotional overwhelm. And it revealed a lot to me of things that I was feeling that hadn't come up yet. And so I'm really grateful for that. Um, felt like your little magic helped. Yay. Not a question, but a fun story. Great. You made your husband a few moths back a knot a few months back, I think. You made a knot spell rope for protection a few months back. That was for protection and good fortune because he was traveling for work and he got a promotion while away. I love that. That is so cool. Yeah, I would imagine the magic did help. Yeah, for literally it was protection and good fortune. Yeah. The intentions definitely aligned. So I would have said, yeah, that helps a lot. Um, and that's how it works with magic, right? We're just saying, like, I'm ready to receive this kind of stuff. And you create a container for it to fall into, and then it does. So it's, I just spent again a couple days in Oxford, which was a filming site for Hogwarts. I was in what was used as the restricted section of the library at Hogwarts, and it's just so normal. And I think that's one of the things that I like to really emphasize to people. It's like magic is a normal part of everyday life, and it's not to discount it being like, oh, just pretend it's normal. It's not fun. No, life is so much more fun when you're actively using magic. Life is so much more empowered when you're actively using your magic. But it's also eventually you're just like, yes, that is how it works. And so it does, you recognize how you've been doing magic all along because we are creators in our own right in so many ways. And so when you do stuff like that, that's like just this extra oomph saying, hey, whatever's up there or whatever's around me, I'm ready for this. Here's my basket. Plop it right in when you're ready. And then it does. And it's just this beautiful, of course, is what it feels like. Um, yeah, so let me catch up here. It was dreadfully hot. Oh, yeah. Um, Amber says, for my new moon in Cancer, I've still been dealing with your house and roommate drama. Bruised tailbone 2 weeks ago, and it still hurts, but you're okay. Able to work out again. Yay for recovery. And I'm glad you're resting appropriately. Jet says the new moon was illuminating for you emotionally as well. Yeah, yeah. um, oh, Jenny, it's totally fine. Sorry, my reading didn't catch it. Um, yeah, cool. Hi, Misty. Great to see you. Sophie says, myself and several other people I know have had things break in the past week that cost a lot of money and time to fix. Oh no, I'm so sorry that's happening, Sophie. Uh, I hope they are fixed well, and I hope they come out better than your expectations. I hope whatever happens is smooth, graceful, and exceeds expectations, and comes back to you in good fortune. Because yikes. Um, which, by the way, that's how blessings work. I wish this thing for you. That's how it works. It's in the Bible. Like that's how it is. And that's the way it always does work. So when you say things like that, you are offering blessings and your intentions do matter. Now, let's be real here. Your intentions do matter. And then when they're followed up with any possible action that is available, that's even cooler, right? We're not on the thoughts and prayers train here. But when you say like, I wish you these blessings, it's saying like, I acknowledge that I'm not in control of that, but I really want good things for you. So I'm going to put my energy into this pot, right? That says good things come here. And we hope that that makes a difference, because if there's something else you can do, you would, right? But all that is to say, it's not thoughts and prayers. You know, we also try to be rational, acknowledge reality, and we're not bypassing by saying. It reminds me of Sorrows and Prayers from not it's from the Queen Charlotte, which is the Bridgerton spinoff, where she doesn't want to deal with other people feeling their grief over things, so she just goes sorrows, prayers, and that's her way of saying like, yeah, okay, but I'm going to be over here. That's thoughts and prayers, right? Someone who's actually leaning in, it's going to be different. So it's very much an energetic thing in a lot of cases. And if it does come around, please let us celebrate it with you, Sophie. Feel free to pop back on here and let us know how it works out better. And I hope that it does. I'll look forward to that. Um, Financial issues came to a head last week, facing them head on and moving forward. Yeah. It's a time to be alive with things that are financial right now. I remember over a year ago seeing Saturn coming into Aries, seeing the Aries ingress for this year, and kind of just reminding people, and I've had to remind myself multiple times, that our standard for what success looks like probably should not be measured financially for a while. We need to come up with a few new definitions. And I also feel like we're moving into a time where we're going to take power away from money a little bit, like from currency and fungible tokens in some forms. And I'm already seeing headlines about it, about people like this happened before this year, but there's a place in Florida where I believe it's mangoes. When they're ripe, you can actually use your mangoes as currency. They are acceptable currency in this one place in Florida during the mango season. And to me, like, yeah, I know there's in Iceland, they were talking about how there's something that they use in exchange of currency. That's a resource that comes up, I think, in the winter. So there's those kinds of things as well. And I think we're going to get more creative with that. I think trades are going to be a little bit more of the way that we as people do things, while the infrastructure figures itself the heck out. Um, and may we come up with amazing systems that the energy kind of bleeds into the higher structures and makes them more stable too. But this is a year where truly, when you look at the Aries ingress, the interpretation from Masha Allah and Abu Mashar, who were Persian medieval astrologers, interpreted it as though there was an eclipse there, which brings a certain intensity and fracturing kind of energy. So it was never going to be a stable year financially for anybody, because it was never going to be a stable year for the structures, particularly in the United States. Now, that was the chart cast for the United States. In other areas of the world, it may be less intense, but here in the US, if that's where you are also located, yeah, it's an intense year for that kind of stuff. And we see it. Like it's not surprising, it's just disappointing. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Hi, Echo. Good to see you. Oh yeah, Jet. Yeah, I crossed some wires in my head earlier, but y'all know it's fine. Um, yeah. I meant to say that you're not in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom, Jet. You go on trips with us, and that's where I see a lot of your work. Yeah. Let me just catch up on some stuff. It is already fixed, but it was a time. I hope it's all over now too. I hope so too, Sophie. Yeah, I wouldn't mind returning to a barter system in some way. I would love if, like, again, I do magic for you, you give me cake. Cool. Like, that's totally good by me. Or I do magic for you and we like exchange groceries or something. That's a very small scale community thing, which honestly is not so bad, right? I like it. And there are ways we could expand that, I think, in a lot of concepts. And it would probably revivify the arts even more, which I think would be cool too. We can have nice things. Um, yeah. Oh gosh, Sassafras, I'm sorry your laundry broke. Um, nice. Bartering for the win. Yeah, we're all here. We're here for it. I said that back, I think it was in 2020. My mom was like, "What's going to happen to the world?" And I was like, "I think we move back to like the village. You know, like where you are part of a village. We all kind of help each other. You don't feel weird going next door for a cup of sugar or flour or whatever it was. I feel like we find new ways of doing that. Um, and I'm excited to see how that works. I hope we do it gracefully. This year I've been deconstructing financial wealth and putting that into your self-worth. I like that. Yeah, it's no longer is, and I am moving forward with my new definition. That's very nice. I like that a lot. Um, uh, will magic for cake always. I need that. I need that t-shirt. Like will magic for cake. Um, even just frosting. It's my favorite food group. Or like Chinese. Like, you know how it's like buy me a coffee, buy me some takeout Chinese. I'm good. um, yeah, cool. We'll cake for magic. Melissa, you and I, looks like we've got a good connection there because if you cake all magic. um, Jet says, I honestly think Patreon is one of the best platforms for creatives. I'm curious how it fueled your work and career. Patreon, okay, I am not affiliated with Patreon in any way, but I will say it is my favorite space because it gives me people that I know are like, so you have social media that's supposed to be for everybody and you have to like run the rat race there, right? And there's stuff that you can do there and it's fun and there's good conversation, but the people who come over into Patreon are the ones who are like, yeah, I'm part of this and I want to be a part of community and I resonate with you. And so you immediately know that you can open up a little bit more. It's like taking a layer of the mask off and being able to go into Patreon like I do with my weekly, even the free newsletters that I do. It's like you're here for astrology and magic. I can have fun and share it with you and not have to worry about if the metrics are going to do well because you're here because you like it. So it's this really cool like village of community that I get to be like, okay, cool. Here's what I love talking about and I've been wanting to talk about. And it doesn't feel like I'm compromising anything for the sake of likes and whatever. And I get to do that here and it's great. And then I get to, for the different tiers and whatever, I get to say like, you're interested in talismans every month. I will Alexa magic for you here. Do what you will. The student study tier, we have like between the group chat and all that other stuff, it is the spice of my life. I love it so much and I appreciate it because I get to talk my language with people who are interested and kind and so good to each other and I get to witness their amazingness towards each other. So yeah, and I know a lot of other creatives, Emily and Rebecca and I work well together and work a lot together. All three of us are most invested in our Patreon communities because there are people and it's just so nice to have that. I did not grow up with that friends, let alone a community. And so to have that now with this program or this facilitator of it, it's a really nice option. Yeah. Apparently, hang on a second. Amber says, has there ever been a study on house sign combinations or just something worked on individually per chart? Has there ever been a study of house sign combinations? Make sure I'm understanding the question correctly, Amber. But honestly, yes, that's one of our fundamentals is house sign combinations. So when you're speaking of cake, there are layers to a chart, right? We start with a base layer of kind of laying down the signs, right? And then we lay down where the planets were in the signs. And then overlaid on that, we lay down the house system based on your location and your time of your birth at this moment with the signs and the planets. And then think about, okay, the pizza dough is the signs. The sauce is the planets, the cheese is the houses, and then the toppings on top is how they're all working together for your specific slice of pizza. Um, and so, yeah, it's one of the fundamental things we do is we learn the signs individually, the planets individually, the houses individually, and then you kind of mad lib them together. That's how I teach it best. It's like, if you start a sentence and then you have verb for the planet, noun for like the house, and adjective for the sign, you can create a sentence. And so it is plug and play in that kind of space, and you get more fluid with it the more you learn. And so it's kind of a yes and for what you're asking here. Has there ever been a study of house sign combinations, or is it just something worked on individually per chart? Yes, we understand house sign combinations. Literally, all the ancient texts are like, if such and such a sign falls in such and such a house, it creates a native which has this kind of quality. So 5,000 years of history of that study for sure. And then every individual chart is going to be a little bit unique, which is great. Like today, I was trying to research when the last time Pluto and Uranus trined from the exact positions they will trine in next year was. I researched the last 1,000 years, and they never quite made it in that time. So this is going to be the first time they will have trined from these exact positions in 1,000 years. I'm going to check that with my mentor to make sure I did my math right and I wasn't, missing something. But I checked twice, and so I'll check that with my mentor this week before I deliver the details of what I'll research more this week to you guys on Monday. So you will get to see it. Yeah. So it's a once in 1,000 year combination we're coming into, which is fun. Um, okay. So that was a question from Russ. Fantastic. Um, I like this. I like that a lot. The stars are helpful. Apparently, I need to focus on things other than conventional wealth as well. I've been pulling the reverse Four of Pentacles a lot. Ooh, so Four of Pentacles. Pentacles, of course, is the Earth element. Sophie, you already get it. I can tell. Like beautiful interpretation of that. This is for everybody else in context. Four of Pentacles is associated with Earth. It is literally pentacles, which is like coins as well. Sometimes you'll see it as the Four of Coins. And four is a number that is, it's, if you think about something that's fourth sided, right? The square and how it's the foundation, sometimes that means tearing down to a foundation to rebuild and do it again. And so four it's a number that requires organization. And so if you've been getting it reversed though, if you read reversals in tarot, which not everybody does, right? But if you get the reverse Four of Pentacles, that could indicate perhaps, and this is just me riffing, that could indicate that, the structure needs refirming, right? And that goes really well, Sophie, with what I've seen for next week's full moon as well. Again, we're battening down the hatches. We're making sure things are secure and safe. A lot of us are going through that, and that's a collective experience right now. So as you're getting this personally, I hope that it helps to know that you're not the only one who's living in that. It's just being alive in these times is requiring this. And it sounds like whatever energies are communicating with you through your cards are making sure that you take advantage of the right time to do it. And that seems like you are. So I love that. Great job. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Russ, yeah. Did I answer the question well? Cool, cool, cool. As it feels a first Gemini would be really different from first Aries. Absolutely, especially first house, right? So first house, that's your personality profile, right? That's your that's your link in bio. So yeah, it's totally different. Like I'm a Scorpio rising. When people meet me, they expect because they've seen my birthday written somewhere. They're like, you don't look like a Taurus. You don't express like a Taurus. And I'm like, of course I don't. I'm a Scorpio rising. I'm literally the opposite of Taurus. But here I am. And so you get a lot of different personality combinations. And then, of course, that lays out the rest of your chart. So for me, right, my second house is then ruled by Sagittarius in that sign, who is ruled by Jupiter. So then I have to look at Jupiter and say, how financially secure can I expect to be with you in charge of this and it being fire immutable? It's a thing. So one of the things I've learned is I live for the experience, and the resources to deliver the experience will always be there. Usually just enough, and it's when you choose for that to be fun, it is. Um, like I wanted to do this fixed star camp that I get to go to next month, spoiler, and I did not have the resources. I didn't have them. And I was so bummed. And I was like, I'm not usually like super wealthy or anything, but I usually get to do the things that I feel like I really want to do, which is really bad when you have ADHD and you're like, my impulse wants this, and then you can make it happen. But in this case, I was like, I feel like I should be able to go to this. I don't know why I can't. And then I was complaining. I was whining to Emily on one of our calls. I'm like, I can't make this happen, and I can't believe that I'm having this problem because I usually don't. And Emma's like, I found this new website, and that launched me into being able to do it because it gave me the discounts I needed. And I usually can MacGyver financial situations really well by like trading something in and trading this in. I remember when I moved from the Apple ecosystem over to Android, I decided one day in Greece, the first time we were in Greece, I decided I was going to do it. And then by the next day, I had worked out how to get a new computer, a new watch, a new phone, like the whole ecosystem replaced without spending any money. And I did it. And my phone and everything was delivered by the time I got home from Greece. I swapped it all over, did some trade ins to compensate, didn't cost me anything. So usually I can find a good bargain. My mom used to have contractors that would work on buildings. And when they needed to cut costs in their budget, they would have me look for a solution of how to get like faucets or whatever. And I would find really cool faucets at really crazy prices, and it would work. So that's another skill I should probably tap into one of these days, but it helps. Um, yeah. Yeah. Cakes have layers, onions, parfaits. Aside from, I do like onions, but like not just going straight for them. Cakes and parfaits are two of my favorite things. Maybe I too have layers. um, Just hold the green peppers on the pizza. Oh no, I like that. I like a lot of veggies on my pizza. I'm really into that. Um, I'm getting hungry too, but I do have Chinese for today, so I'm excited. Whoop, whoop. More mushrooms, no green peppers. More protein, tons of fiber. Love that. Fun fact, you know, if you eat an entire pepper, like a bell pepper, you get your entire day's worth of vitamin C. Um, Nutrition is one of my little special interests. Not as deep as astrology, but it is really fascinating to me. Um, yeah. Yeah, it is a useful skill in times like these for sure to be able to just generate the resources as needed. It doesn't, you have to, you're always walking on a balance beam. So, one of the things I've had to get okay with is not feeling comfortable or stable, but realizing that I still am okay even if I'm not feeling comfortable and stable. Like, I've learned that, like, as long as I'm feeling happy, that is success to me. So, talking about redefining success and not using finances for it, as long as I can experience and travel, I'm usually okay. And of course, my Jupiter, who rules my second house of resources, is in the ninth house, exalted. So if I'm traveling, I always find a way to get there. And that has been the biggest blessing in my chart. Um, yeah, I guess, wow, we are wrapping up now. That last half went really fast. I hope I was able to get to all the questions. I hope I didn't bore anybody with some of the anecdotes. Um, and as Amber is saying, thank you guys so much for being here. Next week, I will have prepared some stuff for you because we got stuff coming up. Spiritual and metabolic nourishment, feeding our bodies is powerful alchemy. Agreed, Jet, 100,000%. Um, Oh, mini history of finance from Madwin. Barter shells, coins, banknotes, checks, telegraph, wire transfer, credit card, ACH. Bartering takes you back to your ancestors. Get it. We love to hear it. That's awesome. Um, Dill garlic cream cheese as a dip for a bell pepper. That bell pepper would be gone. 100%. I actually, in the afternoons, will just sit down with a tray of raw vegetables and about half a cup of cream cheese. And as long as that cream cheese lasts, I'm dipping the vegetables in it. And it's lovely. And it's good protein. And it's tons of vitamins and fibers. And it's been really helping. When I'm weird anecdote here, but the first week I started doing it, I shaved off like a pound out of nowhere. So highly recommend as a way to get your vegetables. Dill garlic cream cheese sounds incredible. Um, why not? Yes. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you very much. This recording will be up soon. And next week, hopefully, I'll be able to talk about Uranus trine Pluto, Uranus and Gemini, with some good research and resources for you. And then if there's time, I will also incorporate this rant that I'm researching. Yeah, I research my rants, and it's really one of the best parts of my life. I look forward to sharing all of that with you next week. Again, feel free to come back. Feel free to invite a friend. We have a really good time here. You all are amazing. And I just love this. This feels like my community and the space where I get to feel like I belong. And I hope it does for you too. Friendly reminder, if you are interested in Greece, Costa Rica, Thailand, any of those things, hop on over to the link that you'll see in the description of here, or just search Trova Trip, Crystalline, or Emily and Crystal Lynn, and you'll be able to find all the trips that we're doing. And if one feels like it's great for you, we would be thrilled to have you there too. You're going to get to see Em and I both can't ride bikes very well, but we're going to be riding bikes through ruins in Thailand this fall. So that should be fun. I can't wait. There it is. Thank you, Amber, for that link. Perfect. Peru is still open. Yeah. And that's going to be like a food tour. I'm so excited. Yeah. Yeah. This is my favorite place to be on Monday morning. Literally, I got home last night and I was like, I'm going to be able to do my Monday Magic Mood Boost because the magic of this is reciprocal. I hope it boosts your mood, but gosh darn it, you guys boost mine as well. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you next week.